Hello, we are live. Welcome everybody. I'm Chase Fly. I will be presenting today. Now, there are a few housekeeping items. Over on the right, you should see a chat, a questions, and a polls tab. If you can hear me, go ahead and put something in the chat so I know that everybody's getting this going okay. Some people are typing, good sign. Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining. Thanks for connecting. We're pleased to present to you today on these new exciting options we've got with the Delair UX11. So let me just kind of give you a little bit of an idea of how this is going to work and how this webinar platform works. It's called Livestorm. Over on the right, as you've seen already, there are 3 tabs. You should see 3 tabs. A chat tab where you can do what you're doing, say what's up, hello, thumbs up. I'm glad to hear from you all. Please do put any questions in the questions tab, however. We will monitor that more closely. It also has a feature where you can upvote. So if you see someone else has already written in the same question, go ahead and just click on upvote. That will bring that one closer to the top. And so we'll try to, with whatever time we have remaining at the end, we'll try and answer all the questions we can. And you should be able to see those as people type them in. If you type something in the chat, we'll try to respond to it too. But it's much more convenient if we can see that over in the questions tab. The other tab you see is the polls tab. So polls are just that. We put 3 in there, pretty basic, but just to get an idea of who's using a UX11. Really curious about beyond visual on a site because some of these new features really lend well to that. That's one of our strong points. And then also which of these features look interesting to you. You can answer them now, at the end, in the middle, whenever. We're just eager to hear from you what that looks like. So I might remind you once or twice throughout the presentation here. This is going to be recorded, so you will have access to it afterwards, and we'll make sure anybody who wasn't able to attend make it available to them as well. So let's get started. You should see a screen as well. You should see the Delair UX11 Upgrade Options. If anybody is not saying that, go ahead and put that in the chat, and we'll see if we've got some technical issue. But I think we're all good to go. So let's talk first about why. Why are we even introducing these new features? The UX11 is a platform, an unmanned aircraft system that has been around for a couple of years now and being used all over the world by a lot of folks to do awesome mapping projects. So why are we adding to it? The main thing is so that you can fly more missions and get more done. There's a lot of missions, projects, mapping jobs that you would like to do that can become a challenge, and some of that has to do with regulations. When you get under some of these regulators, that when you want to go fly over people, or you want to fly beyond visual line of sight, or you want to fly in congested areas, that they want additional measures or controlled airspace. They want to see additional safety measures taken. And you don't always have the right technology for that. And so we're enhancing the UX11 product for that. And we're also trying to make it so it's just a more productive tool. Map even larger areas or map the same size areas faster. So these are the main benefits of everything we talk about with these features today. So what are they? The 3 new add-ons or 3 new options that we've put in our arsenal are first the Xtended Link. So the Xtended Link is a new telecom antenna. So we already have 2 awesome telecom systems with the UX11, and now we have a 3rd, the Xtended Link. And this can extend your range, and it's a direct link, and it can extend your range up to 25 kilometers or 15 miles. So we'll talk about that. ADS-B, this is a detect and avoid technology that many of you may be familiar with. It's a classical technology in manned aircraft, been around for quite a while and used widely, even mandated on manned aircraft. But we're going to talk about where that might apply to drones and how that can work with the UX11. And then a new wide view lens, and we'll talk about the benefits of that. So let's get started. Oh, I do want to mention too, where does this apply? There's several industries where this applies, definitely in the surveying and mapping. When the larger projects you get, the more complicated areas you want to fly in, this is going to help. Power and utilities, anything linear infrastructure-wise is going to benefit greatly from these features, including oil and gas and and road construction. Mines, especially these big mines that take a lot of flights, or where you're often flying far away from where you can take off. This is going to be a great benefit. And then in ag and forestry as well, where you're operating in rural areas or where you need to cover large tracts of land. So let's continue on. The first product here, this is the Xtended Link. So this is we've had antennas like this for our DT26 product line for a while. Our DT26, as you may know, is our much larger drone, 3-meter wingspan, carries LiDAR sensors and ISR payloads and things like that. But this is a different. It looks the same. The shell is the same, but actually inside it has the right modem and components for the UX11. When we first released the UX11, there wasn't really much of a need or demand for this, but as people have used it more and more, people want to fly more and more complex missions. And so this is going to enable you to fly farther, to fly beyond visual line of sight while maintaining communications reliably. And it really will allow you to fly just about anywhere. It extends the standard range, the range of the standard Delair Link, which is the radio that you get with the UX11 by default when you purchase it. It extends that range, which can be between 2 and 10 kilometers depending on your configuration, up to 10 times. So we're talking now 25 kilometers reliably when it's in the open mode. Now you do have the ability to configure that for CE, which CE is going to reduce the power output, which is standard. So it's not going to do 25 kilometers in that configuration. But if we're talking in FCC and open mode, you're going to get a lot of range. So let's talk about how we do that. I do want to mention those snapshots on the right there, just to kind of show you this in production, what it looks like, and note that when you do get one, it comes with the antenna itself, it comes with the battery. It's got its own battery system, the charger, everything you need for the antenna, a tripod, and then a rugged carry case. So what this does, we are really trying to leverage different types of connectivity, different types of communications to do these more complex missions. But we're doing that while maintaining first secure command and control, but also providing an encrypted data link between the drone and your ground control station with the Xtended Link. So this really comes in handy for real-time mapping and image previews. I'll show you where that comes into play. But as you see in the sort of diagram on the right there, there's going to be a wireless connection between the Xtended Link itself and your ground control station. That's just through Wi-Fi. And then there's going to be, and by the way, your ground control station when using the Xtended Link will be a Windows laptop running Delair Flight Deck Pro, which I'll talk about in a moment, as opposed to an Android tablet running Delair Flight Deck. So Wi-Fi connection from your PC to your Xtended Link. Then of course that direct link from the Xtended Link to the UX11 drone. It is a 2.4 gigahertz frequency. It's encrypted, AES-128 encryption, but you can have, again, depending on how you set the settings, up to 25 kilometers of range. What's also unique is the Xtended Link has built into it a cellular modem, just like the one that's on the UX11. So those of you that have used the cellular communications from a tablet know, normally we give you a second SIM card that we put into the tablet and you put in the tablet. And if you have the supported cellular coverage in your region, you can connect directly from the tablet to the drone. Well, now when you're using a PC with Delair Flight Deck Pro, having that cellular modem on a PC is actually very just difficult. It's a challenge. Either you have to use some third-party device that plugs in via USB or have some workaround. Well, you don't have to worry about that with the extended link. The modem is built into that. The SIM card's pre-installed, so you can actually configure that to connect to the drone direct over 2.4 gigahertz as designed, or switch over to cellular. So you still maintain the dual frequencies, the redundant frequency for a flight, and you can switch back and forth. And with cellular modem, 3G, as you know, you have essentially unlimited range so long as you have cellular coverage both at the ground control station, at the extended link in this case, and on the wherever the UX11 is at the time. So lots of range, lots of capabilities. Delair Flight Deck Pro is going to be a core component of this solution. It's mission planning and flight operations software, much like Delair Flight Deck. The main difference being that it runs on a Windows PC, which gives us more computing power, which allows us to do more complex things. With an Android tablet, we realized there's some people that wanted to do some missions, plan some missions that were just would kind of overload or bog down these tablets, and so this gives us more opportunity. There are some features in Flight Deck Pro that are not in Flight Deck, and vice versa, but for the most part, the interface is the same, and you're gonna be able to pick up on how to use this right away. The three of the main features that are exciting about this are live mapping and overlap detection. I'm going to show you a video of what that looks like. Advanced terrain following, so you can actually customize your terrain following by waypoint. And then linear mission planning or corridor mission planning, including branched networks. Like, think about distribution power lines where they have dead ends everywhere, right? It's not just one big, long, straight, continuous transmission line. It's lots of small power lines that go and turn off at 90 degrees and have dead ends here and there. And a lot of these networks, they might have shape files of what those look like. Well, now you can just import a shape file, even a pretty scraggly or nasty looking one, and you can have that mission planned real quick. So that's what's exciting. You can go, and this is available for download now. We announced this about a year ago in beta, and now it's the fully supported version. So if you have a UX11, you can go download it and use it right away. As you know, sometimes, all the time, whatever you prefer, in conjunction with a Delair Flight Deck on an Android tablet. You download that at download.mydelair.com. So let me share a quick video here, and you can kind of get an idea of what this antenna looks like, and then what Flight Deck Pro looks like. Starting with the extended link. This is going to be a sped up version of it in operation. All right, this is 8 times faster than real time. Okay, so we're not operating this. Your drone's not flying that fast, but as you can see, it's a directional antenna, and it does auto tracking. So that's critical to get the kind of range that we're talking about here, because by being directional, we can actually concentrate that frequency better, the signal, and we get just better and stronger return between the aircraft and the antenna. And by tracking, we always are maintaining that, and it does auto track. You don't have to worry about some joystick to try to keep track of it yourself. There's a GPS in this antenna and the extended link. There's a GPS, of course, on the drone, and it auto manages that. So you'll just be able to set it up. You usually set it up between 5 or 10 meters away from your ground control station to avoid any kind of extra interference, and then you're golden. It's going to do the job for you. So that's how it works. It's really cool, really simple. The battery will last about 6 hours, so multiple flights. You can get additional batteries for it if you wish. So this is an option that's now available to you. Let me share now a video of Delair Flight Deck Pro. Now, we created Flight Deck Pro to specifically to be able to answer certain use cases like linear flight planning. And here in this first shot, what you're seeing is our live mapping feature, and this is perhaps the most useful, kind of a surprisingly useful feature, as we found out. But you can see as the photos are being taken, and you're seeing that. I'm going to pause it here so I can show you, talk about it. On the right, you're seeing the thumbnails come in just as you would on Delair Flight Deck on an Android tablet, because we fully integrate our camera and all that good stuff. But what you're also seeing on the left is on a map-based, background that you're seeing in real time, we're plotting those images based on the GPS location of the aircraft and the orientation. So they're properly oriented and they're properly positioned. We're not stitching the images. This is not photogrammetry in real time. It's not structure for motion. We are simply plotting those images to give you some real-time situational awareness. But that's huge, especially for a lot of applications like search and rescue, or one thing I'm going to mention later is livestock tracking. This can be useful in wildfire management. This can even be useful in basic infrastructure inspections, where maybe you see some critical issue or an excavator digging over a pipeline that needs to be taken care of right away. You'll see that. You can then click on the map and get an XYZ coordinate for that position, and that allows you to respond and use this even as an operational tool. So we're looking even at some applications like reconnaissance for security and defense, and others where they want this feature and only this feature, actually. May not even need this for traditional mapping and surveying, where you're going to then download the photos afterwards and do photogrammetry. This becomes now just a true operational tool for situational awareness in the field. The other thing we can do is this overlap map, or this overlap detection. So red, yellow, green, you can tell on that first pass over that power line, as you would expect, there's not quite enough overlap to have it stitched together. So as it goes back over, we're just making sure that any point has at least full overlap with another photograph. Actually, I think it's with looking for 4 photographs or something like that. So anywhere it's green, you have excellent overlap. That's going to process in Pix4D or Trimble Business Center or Altea or Agisoft, and it's going to do great. So you're not wasting your time wondering if your data is good enough before you leave the field. You're going to know the quality before you're even done. So that's an exciting feature. Now onto adding and editing waypoints. So this is something people have asked for a lot too. Normally in Flight Deck, we just create these automated waypoints. So I'm going to pause and start here so I can talk about this. But here we're adding a new feature where you can actually add waypoints strictly for the terrain following aspect. So vertical waypoints. You're looking at the elevation profile on the bottom here. And by clicking on a new point and moving that point up or down, as you see, we are making sure that we're steering clear of all of that terrain. This is a particular flight where we're flying perpendicular or across a very small hill that's quite steep. So normally the terrain following might want to just fly a steady height or just change elevation based on the 2 endpoints, but instead now we can add an interim waypoint so that it will climb up and over that terrain. Now, the Flight Deck or Flight Deck Pro would stop you from flying this mission if you didn't have this, just for safety purposes, but now you have a more sophisticated way to still get the job done. So that's really exciting. You can also just adjust the horizontal waypoints, either to avoid obstacles or obstructions, or you want to bring that in to make sure you're not flying too far over people or property or a cliff. So there's lots of options we have with the waypoint extraction or waypoint editing. And now this part is an exciting tool too. This is the linear flight planning. So here we created a corridor. You can do that by bringing in a shapefile or a KML file. You set the corridor width that you want, 50 feet, 100 feet, 100 meters, 500 meters, whatever it is, and then it will automatically plan that. It'll automatically plan that corridor flight, whether that's a pretty continuous line like this or if it's a branched network. You also see in the elevation profile down there that we're also editing now, because we're going through some mountainous terrain there. We're editing those waypoints to smooth that flight out. Maybe in this case, we even have a smoothing tool in the upper right there of that bar at the bottom, where you can really smooth that out to where it won't have to climb or make much effort to climb or descend at all. Or if you bring that back down, it's going to be there's going to be a lot of climbing and falling to try to keep more consistent GSD. But you have the option, and now you can edit that either manually or in a somewhat automated way using that smoothing tool. So really useful stuff. Linear flight planning is going to be much easier, whether you're doing long transmission line surveys, pipeline surveys, or whether you're doing just small segments of roads for new construction. These are all exciting tools we have now. Let me bring back up the slides and we'll continue on here. All right. So this brings us to the second big upgrade option that we have now, which is ADS-B. So this has been a feature that has been asked for a lot. Sometimes it's for a specific government opportunity. Sometimes it's for an existing drone that's out there, and they just need to try to have whatever tools possible in order to get a special flight authorization. In other cases, it's required. I know some countries are actually going the route where this will sort of be a standard tool for even unmanned aircraft use to operate in certain airspace or in certain conditions, whereas other places they're even discouraging it so as not to jam or crowd the ADS-B frequency or bandwidth. But whatever the case may be, just know that the option is here now, and for both in and out. So in the lower left there, you see just sort of an example. I mean, that was some integration testing we did. So just to prove the concept and make sure there wasn't interference, and it worked fine. So we do have a clean integration now that we do for you, but just to show you that this has been done and tested, and we're ready to provide it to you. I'll mention availability timelines and stuff like that at the end, along with pricing. So we'll get to that. But to show you that, we have been working on this for quite a bit. Now we use components from UAvionics. UAvionics is a US-based company, been very reputable, make very small miniaturized ADS-B transceivers, among other things. So if you go with the in-only option, meaning a receive-only option, that's going to show you where other traffic is, assuming that other aircraft have their ADS-B transceiver or beacon on and transmitting. And so for that we use the ping RX, and that's a very small component that we can integrate into the drone. The benefit of having that receiver on the drone and as opposed to on the ground is that even in these more complex missions, which is likely where you'll be required to have this anyway, say beyond visual line of sight or flying in congested airspace, that means you're going to see that traffic relative, or you're going to receive it better because you're going to be receiving it from the drone, which is above the ground, and you'll see that traffic relative to the drone. There's another device that's commonly used with some other drones out there, and it comes from Avionics as well, called the Ping USB. That's something that you plug into your ground control station, the laptop on the ground, and so you're receiving that signal from the ground, and it's not moving with the drone. So you can imagine if you're flying your drone with an extended link now, and you're 10 miles away from the drone is 10 miles away from where you are as a pilot. A huge advantage to having that ADS-B in come in at the drone and not where you are on the ground. So that's ADS-B in only, or there's the Ping 2020i or 1090i for ADS-B in and out. And that means it's a transceiver, so you're receiving any ADS-B in signals, so other air traffic that is transmitting, you will know where they are, but you're also transmitting. So you're also sending an out signal, which means you will show up as an aircraft. Sorry, I lost the connection there. Should be live again. Okay. So that means you are transmitting out to other aircraft, so they should know where you are located. The difference between the 2020i and the 1090i is simply the frequency, and that just depends on your geography, where you are. The 2020i is really built for the US market. 1090 is the UK and Australia. Different countries usually pick one or the other, so you would need to check with your authorities and find out which one you'd need if you need it. And then we have different part numbers for that. So there you are. That's ADS-B. Again, the big benefit is to detect and avoid. You get that real-time sense and avoid. It would look something like this on the screen, where you can see that other traffic around you if you have ADS-B in. And it just is going to help you with those complex flight authorizations, being able to just get the FAA or your CAA to allow you to operate in certain conditions. So glad to have that feature, which has been requested a lot. The third one here also has been widely requested, is the wide view lens. The wide view lens is as simple as that. It's a high quality glass lens that is compatible with our camera that we can install. As you know, we use a machine vision industrial grade global shutter camera. It's not a typical off-the-shelf camera with a leaf shutter or a rolling shutter like some of the other professional drones out there use. We use this industrial grade one, and one of the lens we currently have on there has a 12 millimeter focal length, and relative to our sensor, that it gives us a fairly narrow field of view. And we did that on purpose for a couple of reasons. It's a good design because it allows you to avoid having any sort of major distortions or vignetting or aberrations, especially around the edges of your image. That just means you're going to get usually more accurate and correct data. You're not going to see a lot of squiggly lines or noise in your point clouds after you do your photogrammetry because of our lens and camera choice. It also means the current configuration I'm speaking about also means you're going to get very high GSD relative to your flight height. So even if you're flying at 400 feet or 120 meters with the current camera on the UX11 and lens, you are getting about 1.7 centimeter GSD. You won't quite get that resolution with this new lens, but what you will get is a lot more work done in the same amount of time. So there's a little bit of a trade-off, but it's a huge benefit. So with this new 8.5 millimeter focal length lens, you can cover about 40% more area per flight than you could with the original lens on the UX11. So the other benefit is you'll only be taking about half as many photos. Because we have a wider field of view and we're covering more ground, even with, say, 60% overlap, which is our standard on the side, you're going to have about half as many photos for a single flight, a full flight. That's huge, because what that means is you're going to really cut down your processing time by up to 4 times. It'll be up to 4 times faster. So as you probably know, the relationship of the number of photos to processing time when it comes to photogrammetry, whether you're using a Pix4D or an Altea or an Agisoft or Trimble, the more photos you have, the longer it takes, right? So by cutting that number of photos in half, we could be cutting our processing time down by as much as 4 times. So that's pretty awesome. So you're getting more work done in less time. To kind of quantify that a little bit for you, here's a concrete example. So a typical UX11 flight, which we'll say is 45 minutes, flying at 400 feet or 120 meters altitude with 60% side lap and 80% forward. These are very classic default settings for lots of folks. With our standard lens, the 12 millimeter focal length, you're going to get about 100 hectares or 1 square kilometer mapped. That's 250 acres. You'll get 1.7 centimeter GSD and have about 2,000 photos to process. Same amount of time, same flight height. With the wide view lens, you're going to do about 1.4 kilometers squared you're going to do 350 acres at 2.4 centimeter GST, so a little bit larger pixel sizes, but not huge, right? That's still totally acceptable and even better than most of the alternatives out there at that same flight height. And you're only going to have 1,000 photos, and so that's a huge deal because you're just getting so much more done in so much less time. All right, those are the features, or those are the upgrades. We'll get to the pricing and availability, but first I want to run through just a few use cases where I think these features are most useful. Mining. So a lot of you use a UX11 for mining or are considering it. A lot of these mines are big, right? We're usually talking about open pit mines. We're not talking about hard rock mining, but this is an example of a quarry here where I know it's not far from where we are here in France. I did it myself. It took 2 flights with a UX11. The first one was about 45 minutes. The second one was about 15 minutes, I think. So we had to get a couple flights in there to get it all done. Now with the wide view lens, you could easily do that all in one flight. And the other benefit with mining, especially on some of your really big mines that are several kilometers wide or long, or where you have limited places where you can take off and land. Maybe you're taking off from down in the pit and it's hard to maintain your line of sight communication with the standard Delair link. Now with the extended link, you're going to be able to maintain that communication a lot better. And you'll even have those real-time images being plotted in Flight Deck Pro that will give you that situational awareness. So I think those features will be huge for mining, the extended link and the wide view lens. Power line inspection is going to benefit from all 3 of these new features. The extended link is the big one because now you can really do those beyond visual line of sight and long projects. You're going to use Flight Deck Pro that has the awesome corridor mapping. But imagine, taking off from one point along your power lines, and you're going to fly. You can fly up to just over 50 kilometers total with a UX11, but usually on a corridor or a power line inspection, we're going to go there and back, right? A 2-way flight. So we have some overlap. So we can monitor our vegetation encroachment, or we can look at defects on our lines or insulators, where we can look at other problems and take other measurements, just do general survey work. And so now we can take off in the middle. We can fly 10 or 20 kilometers in one direction and then back the other way in 10 or 20 kilometers. So we can feasibly map 20, 25 kilometers with overlap in a single flight, all while maintaining really good communication strength and not sacrificing any kind of safety or concerns around our data quality, because we can see that live map the whole time. With the wide view lens, we're going to get a little bit wider corridor than we would normally, so that's a benefit as well. And with ADS-B, a lot of times this infrastructure exists in places in congested airspace, or in places where the regulators are going to be real happy if we can see or other air traffic better, or tell other air traffic where we are better. So power line inspections is big for these upgrades, as is oil and gas. Sort of the same idea with pipelines, those linear flights. Now we can do longer distances. We can have real-time images of what's going on even when we're flying at those long distances. The wide view angle or camera lens is also going to get us a wider corridor in a single flight, and the ADS-B is going to allow us to fly in more areas. Road construction, also similar. Now here, usually we're going to do more than a 2-way flight if it's for new construction. If it's an as-built, maybe we're just going to do a there and back. But if it's for new construction, often we need to take into account easements and look at volumes outside of the main corridor. So maybe with the standard UX11 configuration, we'd have to do 6 passes, there, back, there, back, there, back. With this wide view lens, it's probably only going to be 4. We're going to cut that down by quite a bit to do the same amount of work. With the extended link, again, we can fly farther. And with ADS-B, we can fly in more environments. So all 3 upgrades are beneficial for that. Railway mapping isn't that much different. Again, classic corridor infrastructure application is going to benefit from all of these upgrades. Now, wildfire land management, I suggested that earlier, and I think this is a big one. No, so with the UX11 and that and the extended link and the ADSB and the wide view, all these upgrades will be a benefit. If you're talking about live wildfire operations, you're almost always going to have, and I come from the Western U.S. where this is a big topic, and you're almost always going to have a lot of air traffic. You're going to have other tankers, and you're going to have helicopters in the airspace. If you even want a chance of being authorized to fly a drone in that airspace, you're probably going to need at minimum ADSB in and out, so you can tell other traffic where you are, and so you can see where they're at. You know, talking to one expert in this field, he said they were looking actually at flying a drone all the time just to have an eye in the sky, and they needed they would actually fly it higher than all those tankers, probably something around 1,500 feet or higher. The wide view lens means you're going to get more data from each shot. And the live mapping is huge because this is more of an operational tool than it is a mapping tool in that case. So just by seeing those images plotted on the map, seeing where an issue is in real time, clicking on it, getting a coordinate, being able to deploy a crew to address that house or locate a vehicle or people or whatever it may be. Lots of opportunities for situational awareness and wildfire management. But even post-fire, once it's out and the remediation crews start to go in and do damage assessments, that's going to be a useful tool. And extended link just gives you more range, leaves the pilot out of harm's way so that you can just get your eye in the sky. That leads into damage assessments, so other natural disasters, flooding, tropical storms. We've seen quite a bit of that lately, and this is a very useful tool. Again, where it's unsafe to go and get a close-up view, getting a drone like the UX11 in the sky and being able to fly long distances and still have that real-time data feedback is highly valuable. So in this case, you're going to benefit from, again, all three of these new upgrades. And this is kind of a fun one. We get this request now and again from our friends in Australia and also in the Western US, where there's a lot of open range grazing of cattle. And when it's open range, whether it's on public land or whether it's on private land, these cows will range miles and miles away from home. And it takes a lot of time for a farmer to go and find where they're at and make sure they're okay or round them up or whatever needs to be done. And so now from the rancher, from his porch or from his pickup truck, he can just get out wherever he is. If he knows there's a water hole or something 10 miles away you want to inspect, you create a quick flight plan in Delair Flight Deck Pro, you set up your extended link, and you send that drone on its way. It's going to go out there, it's going to take those pictures in real time, and you're going to be able to click on that map, get those coordinates, and then go right to wherever your cows are at and not waste your time driving all over the countryside trying to find them. So lots of unique applications like that where some of these advanced tools are going to be a big benefit. Thanks for bearing with me. We made it to this part. So now we're at pricing and availability. So here's your table. This should answer most of those questions, but let's summarize. So first of all of these options are available for both new and existing UX11. So if you already have a UX11, you can do that. You can get these options. If you're looking into buying a new one, you can get these options. So there is for the extended link, there's no factory retrofit required. So it's a new product, a hardware product. You order it, we ship it to you or to your reseller who will provide it to you. There's for an extended link, there's about a 2-week turnaround time from the time of order. These are sort of a specialized tool, so they're built to order, and they'll be available starting in June 15th. Now we have all the hardware to do it. There will be a new software release of Delair Flight Deck Pro in mid-June that will finalize that compatibility with the UX11. So that's what you can look forward to. Price is 10,000 euros or 12,000 US dollars if you're buy in that currency. For ADS-B, there's the two options. There's in and out, as we mentioned, or there's in only. So that would be the Ping 2020i or the Ping 1090i for the in and out. And for the in only, it'd be the Ping RX. This service also includes all the integration work. So we've done the engineering, we do the integration, we provide power to it and a location for it and the antenna and all the connections it needs for in the software. So it's going to be a fully integrated solution. This does require a retrofit in the factory, so you'll need to send in, if you've already got a UX11 in the field, you would send it to us, and we would make those modifications. So there's going to be about a 3-week turnaround time, taking into account some shipping time on either end. Normally, once it's here, it doesn't take more than a couple of hours to get the job done. But with scheduling and being conservative with shipping time, we put in a turnaround time of 3 weeks, but we hope to over-deliver on that. Availability, we're looking at that following up shortly after the extended link, so this summer real soon. It will require a software update, particularly for the in, the ADS-B in. ADS-B out is as simple as a hardware integration. Simple. It's a hardware integration, but to get that ADS-B in, we're going to be building in that functionality into both Flight Deck for an Android tablet and Flight Deck Pro for a Windows laptop. So that will be coming soon. ADS-B in and out, as you can see, price is priced at 4,000 euros or $4,800. ADS-B in only is only $500 or 500 euros or $600. And finally, the wide view lens, that too requires a factory retrofit. It is not user replaceable, but you send that into us and we'll retrofit your drone. Or if you order that option on it with a new drone, it'll become like that, installed from the factory. And so it's about the same turnaround time as the ADS-B in and out to take into account shipping. Excuse me. Also available with an upcoming software update in the summer, and the price is 800 euros or $960. I also want to mention, if these are all available for pre-order now. So we can provide you with a quote. You can place your orders, and for orders placed between now and June 15th, there will be a discount offered. I can't say that over the webinar, but you contact me or contact your local reseller, and we will get that quote to you. But these are available to start ordering now. They'll be delivering in the next couple of months, and we will that discount's available until June 15th. And what's more, we're doing an extra special offer for the a brand new UX11 plus the Extreme Link. So if you don't already have UX11, or maybe you do and you want to expand your fleet, when you buy a UX11 plus the Extended Link, you will get an extra special price for a limited time. Again, for orders between now and June 15th, we've got a great bundle price. You'll have an excellent mapping drone with the best telecommunications system. Now we're talking 3 radios. You'll have the Delair Link, you'll have the Extended Link, and you'll have the cellular service. And you'll have all of that for less than the price of our most competitive drones out there. So really, we're talking the best deal we've offered, and you really have to try and take advantage of it between now and June 15th. So that is it. Do contact me if you want additional information. My email is there, chase.fly@delair.aero, or you can send an email to sales@delair.aero, and we'll be sure and follow up with you with any questions. Also, feel free to reach out to your local reseller. If you don't know who that is, let me know, and we'll get you in touch with someone locally. All right, let's look at the questions. Actually, don't forget, if you haven't already responded to the polls, please do go and submit an answer to the polls. We're very curious about whether you already have a UX11, whether you're working with BVLOS flights or not, and which of these upgrades are interesting to you or not. All right. First question, any work on introducing a VTOL function? This is very much required in urban areas. So this is obviously a topic outside of today's webinar, but VTOL is a functionality we are aware of, and you'll be interested to know we've had an ongoing R&D project for some time with our DT26 version drone to develop a hydrogen-powered VTOL drone, and that is progressing very well. We've also done quite a bit of prototyping with others. However, today we do not have a VTOL drone in the class of the UX11. What I will say is the UX11 has a VTOL functionality, bird-like takeoff and landing, which allows us to take off at a very steep angle and land at a very steep angle just about anywhere. And we recognize there's places where that won't work, but you know, people that have done it, I think you'll find in 90% of places you would have wanted a VTOL, this will do just fine and for a lot cheaper. So do keep that in mind. We have the best price for these professional mapping drones, and VTOL is something that we have our eyes on and we will continue to work on in the future. Is this new Delair Xtended Link the same as the DT18 antenna? So for those of you who remember the DT18, that was a previous version, the original Delair drone that was released. It is essentially the same housing or shell, but it is a different modem inside. So there are different components that are specific to the UX11 inside. It looks just like even our DT26 antenna. You know, before that we called this the Mama Bear for the DT18. That was the product name of the antenna. That product has evolved with new upgraded components and is now called the Extreme Link for the DT26. This version for the UX11 is called the Extended Link. So some components are the same, like that housing, that shell, but we no longer require that extra, you know, wire or bird antenna, and the internal components are different for the UX11. Another question, can existing UX11 be upgraded with the wide view lens? And so I think I answered that earlier. Yes, they certainly can. Can the replacement be done by a local service center? Not today. Today it must be done at the factory. We will, based on, frankly, your demand, how many people want this feature, we'd be more than happy to talk to our service centers about getting the training and tools needed to make that upgrade. So that's feasible, certainly feasible in the future. Today, right away, it will be done at the factory. Is the sensor of the camera the same as before? Yes, the sensor of the camera is the same as before. And who is the producer of the sensor and the lens? So we source that, the sensor and the lens, of course, but we actually have done the integration and we own the IP around the sensor. So that is on us. The lens is made by a company called Edmunds, very well known for high quality glass on machine vision cameras. Joshua Hawley, you asked, will the ADS-B out meet the remote ID requirements for beyond visual line of sight in the US? You know, I would love to just outright and say yes, but a couple things there. Those requirements are not, to my knowledge, are not fully set in stone yet for beyond visual line of sight. Now they have released some rules, some standards, I believe, just recently for flying over people and over property that don't explicitly state BV or ADS-B to my knowledge. And I know some of the, however, I do know some of the exemptions that have been granted for BVLOS flights in the US have required ADS-B. Remote ID is another thing that's also still being worked out. There's a lot of private companies that are in the remote ID game, and that standard has not been set in the US. There are some remote ID standards that have been set in the EU, and the UX11 is compliant with it, but it is not related to ADS-B. Reference extended link. With the extended range, the battery life, flight time remains as a limiting factor. Any plans to improve this? I'd say to that, yes and no. So it really depends on the type of projects you're doing. If you're flying a cover zone, so we'll say a very large mine, we're talking about a range of up to 25 kilometers. But of course, we're not going to be flying 25 square kilometers or 50 square kilometers, going 25 kilometers in every way. So no, it is not sized for that. No. While we are working on some things to improve endurance and range, we are also limited by physics and aerodynamics, and so in a 1.5 kilogram drone, there's only so much you can do, and so today we don't have a quick solution for you, Hal, to really make that max range match the max flight time of the drone, but there are some improvements being made already. I would argue in some cases, particularly in linear flights, corridor flights, that's where a lot of users ran into the limitation that already today the UX11 exceeds the flight time and the range and the battery life that you can actually use with the current antenna, and so the extended link matches that now. We were really trying, that was the core use case actually here, is these corridor flights where people were really limited by the communications range. Now we meet that. You have more range, just slightly more range than you have flight time if you're doing a two-way flight. So it's going to meet the need very, very well in that case. On true cover zones, sure, there could still be some improvements made, and we hope to defy physics as much as possible. Can we get a video after? Yeah, that video we shared is actually on our YouTube channel, the one I shared of Delair after flight. There will also be a video of this. This webinar is being recorded. You will get a link to that after the webinar to where you can go and rewatch it or share it. We'll put this on YouTube as well. So yes, there will be a video recording of this event. A new question, will use the PPK and GCPs as before? So I think the question is, will you need to use PPK and GCPs as before? That's of course up to you. These features actually have no impact on your workflow in terms of accuracy and precision. So PPK, absolutely. In fact, 98% of UX11s that are purchased with PPK. I think most people looking for this kind of a solution do want that high accuracy. A lot of people still use GCPs, and that's totally fine. It really depends on your project requirements. PPK is very accurate and can produce very good data. However, if you have 0 GCPs, you can't really prove that, right? So often people put in some targets and some GCPs, if for nothing else, to use as checkpoints to confirm or validate their accuracy. So I would say that these features don't change PPK or GCP whatsoever. However, if you do longer distance flights, you may need, and you use GCPs on like linear flight plans, you might need more GCPs laid out ahead of time now because you're flying bigger areas. But that's that. So. And then a new question just popped in. Any chance for live video from UX11 instead of pictures? Not sure what you mean. If you mean live video of like the photos being taken as they're coming in from the drone, or of a live video of a UX11 in flight, I would encourage you again to go look at our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube and search for Delair. You'll find we've got lots of videos with some live stuff about the drone flying. The ground control station in operation while the drone's flying. Then you added another thing, Tomislav, video stream. So if you're asking for a video stream from the drone itself, today the UX11, we don't turn on a video stream. It takes still images only. That is a feature we've tested and have the ability to do with our camera. However, it's not on a gimbal and it's not stabilized, so it's not been proven, I guess, to be that useful in many use cases. If people are looking for video, they usually want something like a multi-rotor where they can hover and fly slow and have stabilized pictures and stop and hover and just view something. But so today we don't have that feature, and it's not a high priority. But if feel free to send me an email and make your case. I'm always open to hear how people want to use this stuff. Okay, I think that addresses the questions that came in. Let me just make sure in the chat we didn't miss anything. Okay, I think we're good. Well, everybody, I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us. We're really excited about this. Don't forget, these are on, there's a promotion between now and June 15th for all of these items. Either if you've already got a UX11 and you just want to buy one of these upgrades, you'll get a discount. If you are looking to buy a whole new package, you'll get a bigger discount. So contact us and let's talk. And I look forward to talking to you. So please let me know if you have any questions further, and we'll be in touch. Have a great day. Bye-bye.